Recently, a good friend introduced me to the idea of a COVID keeper. Today, I want to ask the question if there might be a COVID keeper in your life. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer. Thanks for spending a little time to be with me today. This episode is airing on Wednesday, June 3rd, so we're just a few days into June, but boy, it feels like a lot has been changing recently as it relates to COVID. Maybe the most obvious is that the mask mandate was lifted a couple of weeks ago for people who have been fully vaccinated. Here at church, we've had, I'll use the word, a normal wedding for the first time in 14 months. We've had a normal funeral. We've had our first worship service without restrictions on Memorial Day weekend. The highways are getting a little busier as some people at least go back to work. Movie theaters and restaurants are opening up. People are gathering more. And in the last few days, actually, as we've made all of these various transitions, three things have happened which are prompting a question for you from me today. One was I had a conversation with a friend who just said, Tim, as we're coming out of the pandemic, as things are changing and the world is opening up again, what do you think we've learned from the pandemic? Or what have you learned? What do you want to take with you from the pandemic that was positive? Again, lots of negative, but anything positive you want to take with you into the future? That was one conversation. Another conversation was with a dear friend talking about a local organization that had just been meeting about some activities that they had had to revise and change because of the pandemic. And they realized, oh, wait a minute. This is actually better. And when they stumbled on things like that, they're calling those things now COVID keepers, right? So a similar way of saying, what kind of COVID keepers are happening in your life? Are there some? And the third event was actually just before taping this. The staff here at St. Philip the Deacon met to talk about our confirmation week, a week-long series of activities, which we had to make a lot of changes to this year because of COVID. And we were kind of trying to do exactly that, reflect on, okay, we had to make some changes. What did we think worked well? What do we want to carry forward? What do we want to go back to the old way of doing things? And we're trying to think through that as we speak. So again, I'm sort of thinking today about how quickly, in some ways, we're returning to normal life. And I guess I want to just pause today, or invite you to pause today, or invite us to pause together and think about, before we rush headlong back into the life as it used to be, which in some ways I think we all crave, but in some ways we would also acknowledge had difficulties and challenges of its own, are there things we should be sort of taking from these last 14 months with us into the future? Are there patterns of behavior that COVID has broken up for us? Are there ways that it has allowed us to have some space to think differently about certain things? Has it allowed us to maybe approach certain things in more healthy, responsible, positive ways, whether that's relationships or work or our physical well-being or whatever? And, back to the first of those 3 points I made, the gentleman who said to me, well, Tim, what have you learned from this? What are you going to carry forward? I will confess, I did not have an immediate answer for him, and I'm not sure I still do. It may be that we're still too close to the events of these last 14 months and need a little bit of distance, a little bit of perspective, but I think it's a really important question to sit with. And so I am going to today invite you, would you be willing to share with me, either by email or if you've got my phone numbers or text or whatever, or in the comment section below, would you be willing to share one thing from the last 14 months that for you is a COVID keeper? Something you want to hold on to, something you want to carry with you into the future, even as we move back to life. Again, I use the word advisedly, back to something like normal. Because I do think there are important lessons we should carry forward with us, and I think it's important that we don't forget those lessons as we rush headlong back into a more busy, frenetic, packed life in terms of calendar and other events. So again, the question for you, what's your COVID keeper? I hope you're willing to share that, and we'll see you next time. In the meantime, thanks for being with me, and as always, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.